Hi, I'm Valerie, and you're listening to The Beauty Brains. Welcome to The Beauty Brains, a show where real cosmetic chemists answer your beauty product questions and give you an insider's look at the cosmetics industry. This is episode 385. I'm your host, Valerie George, and with me today is Perry Romanowski. Hi, Perry.
Hola, Valerie.
Hola, Perry.
Yes, hola, Valerie. Yes, I'm just back from Mexico.
Welcome back. On today's show, we're going to cover a lot of questions, including how effective are growth factors in topical products? Can low-dose minoxidil pills treat hair loss in women? Does air drying cause more damage than blow drying? What shampoo and conditioner won't weigh down fine hair? And can a dark spot serum work to reduce pigmentation? But first, our inane chit chat. How was Mexico?
Valerie, Mexico was not relaxing. You go on vacation.
What? I thought you were supposed to go relax.
Right, you go. But you know what? When I go on trips with my wife, those are relaxing. We hang out. You go on trips with your buddies. That's not relaxing because you're going out all the time, and then it's a competition to see who can stay out the latest. It was just
And
crazy.
I bet there was some imbibing involved.
There was a little too much imbibing. In fact, I weighed myself before and after, and I came home with 7 more pounds than I left. So,
Well, I don't think that was all from food, was it?
all right, food and drink and it was a fun place, Playa del Carmen, which is near the Gulf of Mexico, near Cancun.
Okay. Did you guys do any guy activities?
We watched football.
Oh, okay.
We found a karaoke place. That was fun. So,
All right.
Fun for me anyway.
But you guys didn't do golfing or anything like that? Any paper, scissors, rock tournaments?
No tournaments. Although the guy who won the tournament was there, so he was there.
Was it his prize for winning the tournament? You took him to Mexico.
I told him it was that, yeah, but no, it wasn't that. There's lots of treatments and wacky stuff you can get in Mexico, but I saw those fish baths. The ones where you sit in a spa and put your feet in with. It seems kind of cruel to me, to the fish. Although I guess not any crueler than a fish tank, but it seems kind of a strange treatment.
Well, I don't know if the fish know any better, and perhaps they are happy sucking the dead skin off your body.
I mean, they do it naturally, so I guess they're good with it.
Happy fish. They're happy fish.
I mean, they're better than starving fish, right?
That's true.
So
I don't know if I would ever do one. I don't even like being in the ocean with fish swimming around me, so I don't think I would put my body or feet or hands into a fish bath and have the fish go at it. Seems kind of fetishy.
Well, there seems to be a lot of people who do it because there's a lot of these shops.
Wow.
Yeah, but so it's an interesting place. But I got back from vacation and my cat just will not stop being near me. He just.
Oh, Ted misses you.
I guess that's it. I don't know. I feed him. I do this stuff. I feed him. I pet him. He slept next to me yesterday, which is strange because he usually just sleeps in a chair near me, or he sleeps on my wife's side. But somehow he's on my side. So it's surprising to me that a cat can miss you like that.
Oh, that's really sweet. I wish I had a cat that missed me like that, but they're all gone.
Yeah. Oh no, that's right. Well, except when you're trying to put together the script for the upcoming Beauty Brain show.
Then it's Ted, get out. I don't care that you love me.
That's right.
Well, I know how it feels with Butch and Frank because they literally would climb inside me if they could.
Really?
They can't be close enough to me, and it's 24/7, and they just hyperventilate if I'm moving around.
Yeah.
It's really sweet, but also it's come on, guys, you're giving me bruises from jumping all over me. They're very big.
Well, I am happy to be back. Speaking of back, I saw that there's all those fires out in L.A., and I thought of you. Was that anywhere near you used to live?
Well, one started near where I used to live, and they evacuated a portion of the area I lived in, and they put out the fire very quickly. I guess a homeless person had been walking around with a flamethrower or something like that. That's what I heard. Yeah.
Wow.
So they put all their resources on it because it in one area of where I lived, not where I lived, but it's very upscale. And then
Sure.
you have hidden hills behind it, which is
Yeah.
where all the celebrity mega mansions are.
Mm-hmm.
And, they don't want that burning down. But I used to also live in Brentwood, and the fires are nearing there. And it's very sad. I have friends who are affected. I have customers who are affected. A customer lost their home.
Oh, no.
And it's been 1 year since we moved to Texas, and there's a lot of hard things about living here. It's very different from LA, and I miss LA a lot. But I definitely don't miss this with poor air quality and ash falling everywhere,
Yeah.
and just
And concern
the
about,
struggle,
low water because of the drought and such. So, yeah, it's a tough time to be in California right now.
Yeah, it's the politics of water is very complicated in California as well. So yeah, it's very unfortunate. And if any of our listeners are out in LA and are impacted, I'm thinking of you.
Yeah, I hope they're all doing all right. Now, you're in Texas. Not a lot of wildfires there, but it's been an entire year.
It has. Time has gone so fast, hasn't it?
It has, for sure.
And there's not many wildfires, but there's tornadoes, there's sinking homes because the soil is so shifty here. You don't realize how crooked Texas is till you actually come to move here. And you're like, wait, why does the floor feel like it's a fun house? Or why are the sidewalks so jagged? Or why is this house tilted? It's been very interesting. We did have a tornado warning.
Wow.
Earlier this year, which freaked Mr. Cosmetic Chemist out. And I was trying to stay calm, but I was like, the sky is green, and that's not a good sign. So, but no, overall, it's been good. We're happy to be here.
Growing up in like Tornado Alley, my town of Lamont was hit by tornadoes. You do kind of come to realize that it's getting actually hit by a tornado is a low probability event. Despite what that new Twisters movie shows,
Yeah,
they go there for 2 weeks and they get like these
mega twisters every day.
Yeah. So ridiculous.
Well, my house and my neighborhood actually was leveled by an EF4 tornado 9 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, our house was still standing. After living in it, I would venture to guess it should have been toppled over. Yeah, but everyone else is kind of built up new around us. So that's been kind of interesting. But what are the odds it'll happen twice? Knock on wood.
Probably not that high. Well, we're glad that your house is still standing and you have the ability to record this show. So let's move on to beauty news.
I don't really have a news story per se, but
Yeah.
remember last year when The Rock launched Papatui, his grooming brand?
Sure.
And it's in Target, it's pretty affordable.
The Rock being Dwayne Johnson, the guy.
Exactly. And I actually believe at one point you had predicted this,
I
that
think
he
I
would
did.
come out with something a long time ago.
I think a couple years ago, but you ever notice he plays like the same character in every movie?
He just shows up to the set as himself.
Right, exactly. So he's got a brand now?
It's out in stores, and it never really occurred to me until I saw online that someone posted a picture of the shelf display in the store.
Yeah.
He has hair care as part of his brand. The Rock doesn't have hair.
He does not. Another famous bald guy hawking hair products.
Well, what's really funny is, this is why I'm bringing it up again, because, we've talked about the launch before. In the shelf talker, which is the little sign that appears next to the products, it's called a shelf talker. It says an expertly crafted plant-derived formula that nourishes and strengthens your hair. Obviously, Papatui doesn't listen to the Beauty Brains because plant-derived formulas are all the rage with lawsuits nowadays.
Sure.
But the second part of the shelf talker says, my hair would have loved this 2-in-1, Dwayne Johnson.
Oh, boy.
So that's pretty funny, because I guess other people were like, wait, he doesn't have hair. And he acknowledges if he had hair, he would have liked the shampoo.
I guess you could predict that. I mean, what else are you going to predict if you're selling a product?
What did you see?
That does actually remind me, though, of the CEO of my old company, completely bald.
Oh, goodness.
Yes. Well, corporate America. So I guess he didn't use the products that we made, but that's fine.
Maybe he used them as body wash.
I'm
Probably not.
I mean, he probably had people for that. I don't. I mean, the guy is hundreds of millions of dollars worth guy. So I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
What do the really, really rich people use?
Body washers, not body wash.
That's right. They have
Well, I used to work with someone who they knew someone who had bathed L. Ron Hubbard. So body washers are a real thing.
Oh, well, I bet this guy had a body washer. So, all right. I saw an article published in Cosmetics Design, which is an industry thing. But the headline got me because it said, a study validates anti-aging benefits of low molecular weight collagen peptides.
Who funded this study? Sounds really fishy to me.
Is that your first question? Yeah. No. Essentially, let me go through what they say. This brand, this COLL Insta LMW, they have this supplementation, and they did a placebo-controlled randomized study comparing their 2.5 milligram supplementation of a collagen peptides versus a placebo. And they studied 80 healthy women aged 30 years and older. One group got the supplement, one group got the placebo, and they found after 6 weeks, the people who got the treatment had a 46% reduction in wrinkle volume, 44% reduction in wrinkle area, and 9% decrease in wrinkle depth. I mean, they measure that? Yeah.
This seems like hogwash.
Yeah. And it said it had limited impact on skin elasticity, blah, blah, blah. But they did get it published in Cosmetics, which I think is I
believe that's a Brazilian journal, right?
I think so. Journal Cosmetics. Yes, I think you are correct. So it's also an open access journal. So I think that kind of impacts on how you get published in there.
Well, just the fact that it's a brand who published their study.
Yeah.
The fact that there's a registered mark appearing in the abstract and in the study.
Right.
I just, to me, it's like, well, they weren't going to publish it if it were bad data. And maybe there's data that wasn't favorable that they didn't share, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. How great was this study? I think it's a kind of a small sample size. I think it's a small duration of time. You can't drink your way to skin hydration, so how could you supplement your way to fewer wrinkles? I'm just a bit skeptical about it.
Also, two of the authors were employees of Viscofan Bioengineering, which is part of the manufacturer there. So they had self-reported satisfaction. So over 90% of the participants in the experimental group reported satisfaction. However, subjective assessments are susceptible to placebo effects. I mean, they said it was placebo-controlled, but does the placebo taste different and such? I'm just not sure I actually buy this. They have this notion of why does this work? And they are saying that because this is really short-chain collagen supplements that can bypass the digestive system.
And go where?
And go into the skin, and that theoretically prompts more collagen production. I don't know. It's all...
But if you had an increase in collagen production, you also plausibly would see an increase in skin elasticity.
You would, and
that's one aspect of it.
Right, and they did not see that. So, one to be skeptical of. So that's my feeling on supplements that you could be skeptical. Studies that are published by or funded by a company, be skeptical of. But I also am interested in this whole phenomenon of this industry magazine sort of uncritically publishing the results of treatments like this. And, who's their audience here? They young scientists are going to read this and they're just going to see the headline and say, oh, that's true. Or marketing people in our industry. It kind of bugs me that people, articles like this can get published in industry magazines without some sort of I don't know, skepticism or doubt about the reality of it, or there should be some other side here, and there just isn't.
Well, I think that's the importance of peer review, and I don't know if this is a peer reviewed journal or whatnot. Sometimes open access is.
Right.
We've gone over this on the show and had a lot of audience feedback on it. But it's tough because they did do the study. Presumably that's the data that they got.
Right.
I have no idea who's looking at it and verifying everything. But it also goes to show that like not every study is a great study, right? And it's just one study in a big, world of other studies that have been done about collagen peptides that aren't super favorable.
Right. And this is a pilot study that leaves open a lot of questions, which the marketing people of this product will just, ignore those questions, and then they'll head right on. I would like to see the journal that published the news article about this raise some of those questions, but they never get to it. It just becomes like a PR for their company, which I guess some magazines are just that.
Exactly. Well, let's answer some beauty questions. We did not have any Patreon questions this week, which is pretty amazing because usually our patrons are so eager to get their questions in.
But we do have a ton of patrons, and we appreciate that they keep the show going. But we do get a lot of questions that are non-patrons, and here's the first one. Comes to us from Megan. She says, The Ordinary is introducing a new serum that has 3 different growth factors that claim to increase collagen production and minimize fine lines and wrinkles. How effective are topical growth factors for this purpose? Megan, well, thanks for that question, Megan. She actually submitted it through we have a form linked in the show notes, so if you have questions, you can post it there. Although we prefer it, you go through Patreon because then you're a subscriber.
Or prefer you send in an audio question.
Right.
That's my preferred, so that Perry doesn't play these annoying AI voices.
I haven't done that all year.
Hey, it's only been a couple weeks.
That's right.
You have to start somewhere.
All right. What is this topical growth product that this new serum? What is she talking about here?
Well, The Ordinary is known for taking an ingredient, using it at a really high concentration, keeping the formula very simple, and allowing you to gain a lot of benefits. And so the product is a 15% growth factor serum. 15% is a lot of growth factors. And I don't know if it's a 15% solution of growth factors or, 15% total growth factors in the formula. I don't think it's that because they wouldn't be able to afford it.
Right.
But nonetheless, we have a simple serum with water, butylene glycol, which is a humectant, and these growth factors that are a combination of...
It's IGF, EGF, and TGF. I will say they say it's a 15% solution, so it's not 15% of that. It could be like a 15% of solution that they throw in there. So it's very difficult to know like how much is actually in there.
Exactly, very nebulous. And the rest are just stabilizers, preservatives, that sort of thing. Now, I am a growth factor skeptic. I've sat through a lot of presentations, different organizations, manufacturers try to promote growth factors for hair growth, and I just don't know that they get through the skin and provide benefit.
That is a big challenge. Like, this is a big molecule that the hardest thing for it to do is get down to the dermis, where if these are going to have any impact, it's going to have to get down to the dermis. I mean, any impact beyond moisturization or occlusivity or emolliency or something like that. It depends on what the nature of the material is. But if it doesn't get down to the growing cells, the stem cells and the dermis, then none of this supposed boosting of collagen production or growth factoring is going to have any impact.
When I first moved to Los Angeles, I made a pretty good living doing different studies, like consumer panels. Like I did one with Reebok. They were thinking about coming out with like a fine fragrance line to like go with their shoes, and they wanted to know like what you thought as a consumer. Well, I did this study. I've talked about it before on the show, but basically I went to this Beverly Hills dermatologist.
Yeah.
And they took pictures of my face. I had to use the products that were in testing. They were developing their own skincare line. And I didn't think much of it. I did the basics of the study, and then they kind of never called me back because I was younger, so obviously we're not going to see a huge difference in our
Right,
skin,
of
right? I
course.
think I was like 28 at the time or something like that. Well, fast forward like, I don't know, maybe 8 years later, I saw a warning letter from the FDA to this Beverly Hills dermatologist
Ah,
saying growth factors and the things that you're saying they do are drug claims and you
ah,
have to stop immediately. And
of
so
course.
at the time I wasn't in the industry, or I was new to the industry, excuse me. So like I didn't know any better, but looking back, I'm like, of course this stuff wouldn't work. But there are studies that show they, in vitro, maybe in vivo a little bit, they can improve skin health, they can promote collagen production, reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles, help
Right.
stimulate hair growth because they stimulate your cells, helping with repair. But I just think in real life,
Yeah.
you got to be a little skeptical.
Well, of course, there's a bunch. They're not going to make these claims without some lab studies. And when a lab study, what they do is they have a skin cell line in a petri dish. It's it could be human stem cells, skin cell, and then they put it on there, and then they measure certain aspects of what the stem cell line is producing, and from that they can make claims. It's all very nebulous. So if you were injecting this stuff right into your dermis, yeah, then that sort of makes the study more relevant. But the fact that the ingredient can't get down to the dermis, it just sticks there in the stratum corneum or maybe the higher levels of the epidermis, and it never gets down to the dermis, then it's not doing anything. It's like trying to paint a wall through a door that you can't get through. So I mean, it's not going to do anything. And so these are make for good selling stories because there is lab data that show that it could do something if it got there, but come on, it doesn't. There's no evidence that it actually gets where it's got to go.
But I will say for $15.50 in US dollars,
Yeah.
it's not a bad price for a dream. If this were $50, $40, $100, I would say, I probably wouldn't try it. But for just $15 for this serum, for sure you're going to get hydrated skin because of the butylene glycol and glycerin present in it.
Right.
And maybe there's some hope that the growth factors or synthetic human peptides could
Sure.
do something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What are the ingredients? I'm looking at this ingredient list. They got the nicotiana benthamiana hexapeptide 40. That's one, right? Mm-hmm. And then we got the
SH oligopeptide 1. Actually, that's part of it. I think that's the whole thing. Yeah.
Gotcha. The SH oligopeptide 1. Then we got the SH polypeptide 76 and the SH oligopeptide 2. So those are the growth factors, I guess.
Exactly. So, bottom line, for $15.50, tax excluded,
Sure.
Megan, I would give it a try.
Yeah, don't expect anything. I mean, you could get a solution of glycerin and probably get the same effect, but you won't have the hope. So you won't have the hope.
Well, our next question comes to us from Tegan. Tegan wants to know, the New York Times wrote an article in 2022 about low-dose minoxidil pills to treat hair loss in women. What's your opinion of the treatment?
Well, I wasn't familiar with this, but I looked up the study that was published in the Journal of the American Academy of Dermatology back in 2021 called Oral Minoxidil Treatment for Hair Loss, a Review of Efficacy and Safety. And what I found was that, this has been looked at. So minoxidil is a topical ingredient that has been proven to prompt hair growth in at least some people. It doesn't work for everybody. It works only for about 60, about 2/3 of people who try it will see some hair growth, which means a third of people won't see anything. And one of the problems with this ingredient is that not everybody sees a topical effect. And so it got people wondering, well, okay, if it doesn't work topically, will it work as an oral supplement? And so this study, the paper that I talked about was a collection of 17 studies, and they were but they were all kind of done differently, so it makes it hard to draw definitive conclusions about efficacy. The usage range from 0.5 milligrams to 5 milligrams, and so we don't know about that. There's also kind of an overemphasis on the positive outcomes. For instance, in some studies, only about a third of the participants reported less shedding. So that means, for 2/3 of people, it didn't work. So that's different than the topical. But as far as, safety goes, it looks safe. And so there's a compelling case here that oral minoxidil is a viable hair loss treatment, but we can't say for sure that this is good. But, maybe based on what I was reading here, it seems just as good as the topical part. So if the topical's not working for you, and it's worth trying. But of course, this is something you should talk to your doctor about before you try.
I know a couple people who've taken the oral minoxidil, and one of them is so happy with the results. And she said, man, I wish I would have started this sooner. So she must be in that third where it's really effective.
Yeah.
I would also say, anytime I think of anything oral, I'm like, what are the side effects with it? Because, when you ingest something, you can have a lot of side effects and they can be not great. But the side effects for this are reported to be pretty low. So basically 15.1% people have hypertrichosis, which is excessive hair growth on the body, which, that's a good sign, I think.
Well, it is indicative of something. So the good news is your hair loss has stopped. The bad news is you've got a lot more hair.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Right.
1.7% lightheadedness, 1.3% fluid retention, 0.9% tachycardia, which is fast heartbeat, 0.4% headache, 0.3% periorbital edema, which is, under eye puffiness or swelling, and 0.2% insomnia. And this was a large retrospective multi-center study with 1,404 patients.
Okay.
So probably more to come. Side effects get reported over time.
Sure.
But I would say none of those are pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, as safety goes, it's a drug that's been around for a while. I don't know if it's been around as an oral product for as long, but, presumably the manufacturer has done the studies and the FDA has not said don't do this. So it's probably safe for it. And all of the data that's been collected so far suggests that's the case too. So if it's could be worth trying if something else hasn't worked for you. There aren't a lot of hair loss options for most people. All right, another hair question here we have here from Cassie. She says, I've been air drying my hair since I stopped using heat tools in 2020. Recently, I read that air drying causes more damage to your scalp than blow drying. Is there any truth to this? If so, what causes the damage in air drying, and could there be a way to prevent that? Thank you. Cassie.
This is a study that was done a couple years ago, Perry.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember this. We talked about it a long time ago on the show because at the time that this study came out, there were a lot of derm influencers online talking about this and being like, wow, maybe you should be blow drying your hair, air drying so bad for it.
Sure.
And when you look at the study in face value, basically you would say that, air drying does cause more damage. And the thought process is your hair remains more wet for a longer period of time. And this wetness of your hair leads to hair swelling, and this can be more damaging to your cuticle since it stays wet longer.
Now, I would also say the question, so about the hair, I can sort of buy that, but about the question is your scalp going to feel worse or damaging to your scalp? It seems strange to me, but I guess I could see that if your hair remains wetter longer, your scalp could, prune up or it could.
I think maybe the asker's a little confused because the thing that was going around is definitely about the hair, not the scalp.
Sure.
But in thinking about this for a second, I don't know, you could go swimming for 2 hours and you're fine.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, people don't like if you air dry your hair. This is what I've also seen from the derm influencers online, that if you air dry your hair or go to sleep with wet hair, you can get mold and bacteria growing on your scalp. And I don't think that's how it works. Your microbiome is in pretty good balance on your scalp usually.
Right. I mean, I can see if you have dandruff, maybe that could cause a problem being moist like that. But for people who have healthy hair, I don't see this impacting your scalp. Certainly not more than if you were swimming or whatever. So, although, how long does your hair stay damp after a shower or something, after towel drying?
Well, it depends on the health of the hair, because
Right.
when your hair is healthy, it has a really nice lipid layer over it.
Right.
And for someone like me, I do have long hair, but I don't do any chemical treatments to it beyond shampooing. And if you were to spray water on my hair, you would see the water bead up
Sure.
with really high surface tension. Whereas if your hair were damaged, you, one, have lost your lipid layer. Your hair is more hydrophilic, meaning water loving, and your hair just sucks up this water and it stays wet for a really long time. So someone like me, my hair could be dry within an hour or two just by air drying. It dries very fast. Somebody who chemically processes, lightens their hair, it could stay wet for a really long time, and you could tell even when you're blow drying, wow, this hair is taking a really long time to blow dry.
Right. My hair dries like, I don't know, within 15 minutes maybe. But I have short hair and, I don't chemically treat it or anything. Yeah. So, but back to this. So let's say she's talking about the actual hair fiber. Is there any truth to the hair fiber getting more damaged by air drying versus blow drying?
I don't think so, because when you look at the study, there's drying hair with, so the original notion is that blow drying your hair is the worst thing for your hair.
Right.
Because you're heating it, and heat is very stressful on hair.
Sure.
And if you've actually ever looked at scanning electron micrographs of hair that's been previously lightened and then had heat applied to it, like with a blow dryer,
Right.
the hair looks like it's exploded 1,000 times. It's really bad.
Sure.
And we know the importance of using thermal protectants on hair to protect your hair from breakage over time. That's why there's a whole category of hair products for thermal protection.
Yeah.
So this study is saying, or at least consumers have taken away from this study, that air drying your hair is worse for your hair than drying it with the blow dryer. So what happened in the study is they took hair, and one set of hair was their baseline. They didn't do anything to it, no treatment. The second tress, they dried it without using a hair dryer, room temperature, which is about 20 degrees Celsius.
Sure.
Then they dried with a hair dryer on a different tress for 60 seconds at a distance of 15 centimeters, which, if we're looking in inches, this is 6 inches away from the hair.
Sure.
Then they took another tress, the fourth one, and dried it with a hair dryer for only 30 seconds at 10 centimeters away. So the time was shorter, but the distance was 1/3 closer.
Right.
Then they dried it at 15 seconds with just being 5 centimeters or 2 inches from the hair. Then they looked at the health of the hair, what lipid profile was present, what water content was present. They basically concluded that moisture content decreased in all treated groups.
As drying
Of course,
should do,
because
right? They're
that's
drying
what drying
it, yes.
happens.
I would hope that happened, yeah.
The cell membrane complex, which is like the center of the hair fiber, was damaged only in the naturally dried group without the hair dryer. And without knowing the health of the hair, because again, that plays a huge role, it's hard to say, if this was like virgin hair,
Right.
I would be really surprised by that. But in the heated groups, they didn't notice that. But then their conclusion was, although using a hair dryer causes more surface damage than natural drying, using a hair dryer at a distance of 15 centimeters with continuous motion causes less damage than drying hair naturally.
Yeah.
So the further you are away, the less damage to your hair.
And the longer it takes to dry your hair that way, because that's not how people behave.
That's right. And the thing I don't like about this study is, one, we don't know about the original hair health.
Right.
But we also, it's not realistic. Like if you go to a salon and they're blow drying your hair, the blow dryer is literally against the brush.
Right.
It is less than 1 centimeter
Right.
away from your hair fiber.
Yeah.
And they basically put them up as hot as they can get. And so I just don't believe under normal use conditions, this scenario is true.
I even think of those those classic hair dryers that you stick your head under a hair dryer.
Yeah, the hoods.
Those are
Yep.
not 15 inches or 15 centimeters away, right? Those are like right on your hair. So, yeah, this.
Exactly. So I think people should still, stay away from the heat tools. It's okay to use them every once in a while. Just
Sure.
use a freaking thermal protectant.
Yeah, or use a towel, and maybe in this study it showed it was a bit more damaging, but it's not particularly damaging. So
Exactly. And what you can also do, and this is what we had a test salon in our lab at my previous salon professional brand where I was the head of R&D. And what they would do is they would hold the blow dryer far away.
Yeah.
And they would quickly move the dryer over the hair to get it like 50 to 60% dry.
Right.
And then they would go in close. This was to make the whole blow drying process faster. And so based on the study, of course, the further away you are, like it's actually better for your hair than air drying, but you're not doing that most of the time.
Yeah.
So anyway, bottom line, just do what you're happiest with.
I know. As far as the consumer goes, this means nothing. It's very kind of pedantic. And the results are based on, they didn't do like a instron or diastron fiber pulling test or anything like that, which could tell you more about how damaged the hair is and such. So
They just did like a lot of chemical analysis. They
Right.
didn't actually look at like the fiber mechanics.
Right. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure how much that study applies to real life. All right, we have time for a couple of more. This one came to us from Avery.
Hi, Beauty Brains. I love the podcast. Thanks for what you do. I have fine, low density, curly hair. I also have a very sensitive scalp to the extent that I'm always looking for fragrance-free, allergen-free hair care that also works for my hair type.
Wow.
Brands such as Klur are loaded with glycerin, even the clarifying shampoo, and it's too moisturizing for me. InnerSense Clarity shampoo doesn't irritate, but it's a very gentle cleanser. Their conditioner causes excessive shedding for me. I've tried Curlsmith, too heavy, Scene, meh, Curl Mic, too heavy, Dad makes my hair fall out, you name it. I can't find any products specifically for fine hair without fragrance. I also stay away from silicones because they weigh my hair down. I have some grays but don't color, use heat often, and have other damage. Basically, my question is, what can I use that will thoroughly clean my hair without weighing it down? And what conditioner will detangle it without leaving a bunch of stuff on my hair that weighs it down? I can't find any products specifically for fine hair without fragrance. Shampoo and conditioner are the hardest to find since those touch my scalp directly or put deposits in the hair. Thank you.
I find it interesting. It's not really part of the answer, but I do find it interesting the power of suggestion and marketing in these kinds of things, because she says that if something has glycerin in it, the Klur is loaded with glycerin, even in the clarifying shampoo, then it's too moisturizing. But glycerin in a shampoo just rinses down your drain. It doesn't stick on your hair. It doesn't do anything except maybe reduce the foam. So where's she getting this notion that it's the glycerin is doing anything, and it just must come from the marketing, because she knows, yeah, glycerin is moisturizing, but it gets washed out.
It does, yeah. It's a foam killer, a viscosity killer. And some brands, I've gone to other labs and they've showed me their shampoo formulas. They're putting like 7 to 10% glycerin in shampoo formulas. I'm like, what are you doing? And the customers like the feel of it. I think because it makes the shampoo more dense feeling.
Right, yeah.
But in terms of like action on the hair, it doesn't do anything.
Right, it just rinses down the drain. Now, what it does do is it can improve the stability of something. If it's frozen, it's brought down, it reduces what's called the cloud point. So the colder it gets, it doesn't solidify up. But other than that, it doesn't really belong in shampoos, quite frankly. But it's not moisturizing.
Yeah. Now the challenge here is pretty much Avery has listed every fragrance-free product line out there. And I agree that Scene is meh. It's also, I don't think it's stable. I've had in my lab for a while, but anyway, neither here nor there. But when it comes to hair care, fragrance-free is very difficult to find, at least quality, high-performing, fragrance-free products that work on a wide range of hair types, such as Avery with fine hair.
Yeah, and it's
hard.
Basically because the surfactants you're using, they have an odor to them. And you can't really cover that odor in an easy way. And so unless you're going to accept that your hair smells like wax crayons or something, you need a fragrance in there.
Yeah. And, there's an interesting paper from, 1960 or something like that. It's one of the first papers that I ever read about hair care. I started way back in the Journal of Cosmetic Science and worked my way up to the current day. It actually is about the importance of fragrance in shampoos to the consumer. And it has, back then I don't think they knew what like allergens were and that kind of stuff as far as it came to fragrance, but it basically was like just the psychology of the human race. It's ingrained to us to have this like really fragrant experience in the shower.
Yeah.
And everyone opens up, oh, what does it smell like? When they open the bottle in the store to give it a sniff. And right now I'm using a banana scented conditioner that I picked up the last time I was in Germany. And you know what? I kind of like it, right? So it covers up something that could be pretty stinky, as Perry mentioned. So It's just part of the consumer product landscape for hair care products that they have some kind of fragrance. Because if you move and you have like a really quaddy, fishy like conditioner that had been on your hair, it's not good.
And it just is indicative of what the market wants. People are told that fragrances are bad for them frequently. And yet, if you look on the market, there just aren't that many fragrance-free hair care products. And it's because the products were tried, they just do not sell very well. In fact, when I would do market research studies, and I would compare exactly the same formula, but just with a different fragrance, people would report rinsing differences, conditioning field differences, combing differences that in the lab you could never show. But there is the halo effect of a good fragrance. And I think one of the reasons that Pantene has been consistently the number one selling shampoo brand and conditioner brand since 25 years, since 2020, is because people love their fragrance. I mean, people just do.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many customers I've formulated for, and the project starts out fragrance free, and even they halfway through just say, oh man, I just want it to smell so good, and they change their minds and we end up adding fragrance to it. It happens.
Right.
Literally, it has happened almost every single time, except one brand I work with. They're actually going to launch without a fragrance. I can't mention who they are, otherwise I'd recommend them. They did not. They stuck to their guns, and they're going fragrance free. But it is very tough because people do want to smell nice.
So maybe one of the solutions to your problem is look for a fragrance that you can handle. A product.
Or even just get a fragrance free shampoo. But the conditioner, don't put it on your scalp. Focus it on the middle to ends of the hair. A lot of people put conditioner on their scalp, which always perplexed me. But conditioners for the middle to the ends. And for something that won't weigh your hair down, the emulsifier that's used in the conditioner plays a really big role. So I would look for something like stearamidopropyl dimethylamine, or even a cleansing conditioner, which is, positioned as like a cleansing shampoo in a conditioner format.
Right.
Those are actually really, 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 really lightweight conditioners. You just have to see if you can find one that's fragrance free.
Yeah. All right, Avery's got one last question on a different topic. I recently tried Caudalie Dark Spot Serum. At $82 a bottle, it's more expensive than what I was previously using, the ordinary tranexamic acid, which worked but irritated my skin. Is there anything in the ingredients for this product proven to reduce dark spots? I've used it for a month, and it seems to be a very nice moisturizer, but I'm not sure it does anything else. 2, do you have any suggestions for products for pigmentation that are gentle and won't cause redness? And please don't say SkinCeuticals. I'm not looking to spend that much. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, SkinCeuticals is pretty expensive.
Yes. Is that vitamin C and ferulic acid and vitamin E? Is that the blend on?
That's the one. And it's just gotten more expensive. It used to be like $125 an ounce. Now that their patent is expiring, they've increased their prices and just have jacked everything up.
Huh.
I would say like their products are more expensive than they need to be.
Yeah, well, maybe with the patents expiring, then lots of knockoffs will come in cheaper, and that'll be good for consumers, maybe.
Exactly. Well, we did talk about Caudalie a few episodes ago because someone was interested in their, I think the resveratrol technology
yes.
that they have. Yeah. I actually really like the whole product line. So the formulators are doing a great job. I just like how lightweight everything is.
Yeah.
Does it really work? I don't know the answer to that question.
It turns out Caudalie is actually still owned by the family business that started it. However, they also have a deal with LVMH, which is
That's right.
one of the largest companies. They started that in 2017. They purchased a minority stake in the company, and so I think that allows the Caudalie brand some access to R&D that comes from LVMH. So that's why when they make claims about their products, you can have more faith that what they're saying is probably true.
That's right. I recall that being ownership, but a small stake is, in some way ownership, and they want to make sure they've protected their investment. So yeah. I believe that Caudalie is still doing everything that large brands are doing.
Sure. All right. So as far as Caudalie goes, is there anything in there that's making it work to reduce dark spots? Well, I see they have a brightening dark spots vitamin C alternative. And this one is using as their active ingredient viniferine.
Vino Perfect.
Yeah, but
it's technology from grapes. Which one are you talking about?
No, they have viniferine is their key ingredient in this serum.
Oh, but they call the technology Vino Perfect.
Gotcha. Yeah, that is the product I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm talking about the ingredient. Okay, so viniferine, they say it's a natural extract derived from vine sap. They say 62 times more effective than vitamin C, and they were comparing it to the effect on tyrosinase,
which is a enzyme that triggers the pigment-producing pathway in skin.
Right, and so this stuff, and the way vitamin C is supposed to work, it stops tyrosinase from working, and so this stuff is supposed to inhibit tyrosinase 62 times more effectively. So that's their thing. They call it palmitoyl grapevine shoot extract. So I guess that's it. I don't know.
Yeah, I've actually tried this serum before, and I really liked it. Like I said, I like most of the Caudalie products.
Sure.
I can tell that it has a lot of humectants in it, and it uses a polymer called polyacrylate cross polymer 6 that everyone is always a fan of because it just like melts into your skin. Mm-hmm. So I guess I would say, I don't know if I can judge the dark spot reducing factor in it because I didn't pay attention to that.
Right.
I mostly was just paying attention to like the sensorial experience while using it, and I was very happy.
I will say, though, this is, again, one of those treatments where if it actually, like the growth factors we talked about earlier, if it actually did what it's saying it's doing, that would kind of make it a drug because you're not supposed to be able to interact with the biochemistry of skin. So that makes it a little questionable.
And I do also want to mention that their viniferine, grape shoot extract, Vino Perfect technology is actually an in vitro test. So they didn't do it in living humans. Again, they took that cell culture, applied the ingredient, looked at what factors were being produced, and said 62 times more effective. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work IRL in real life.
And at $82 a bottle, wow, for 30 milliliters.
That's 1 ounce. That's, if you use it once a day and you put it on your face and your neck, you're looking at like 5 to 6 weeks at best.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. But what would be better?
Well, going back to The Ordinary, you can't beat their prices, and they're using the same ingredients that everyone else is using. Maybe not this exclusive technology to Caudalie, but it's very good. One of my old coworkers came to me and said, "Hey, I'm looking for skin brightening and skincare products. What are some new things I could use?" And I said, "Well, what do you currently use?" And she said, "Oh, Obagi," which is an expensive dermatologist skincare brand. And I was mentioning a couple other lines that I liked, and one of them was The Ordinary, and she cut me off and said, "I'm sorry, I actually like to spend money on my skincare."
Oh, there you go. So it's not all about performance in this business. Well, I will say if the tranexamic acid is causing irritation, don't they have like a vitamin C something or other that you could try?
Well, if the tranexamic acid is the actual ingredient that's irritating their skin. I would be surprised by that.
Right.
Because vitamin C is actually very irritating to skin as well.
Sure,
So
yeah.
I probably wouldn't recommend that.
But the derivatives, the vitamin C derivatives, are less irritating. So
You could do a vitamin C ester like tetrahexadecyl ascorbate. I resell it on my website, and a lot of people make their own serums with it. You can get a serum from The Ordinary. I think it's a little more expensive. Other brands have these tetrahexadecyl ascorbate serums as well. But you're right, Perry, it's pH independent. That might be a great option.
Yeah, well, we like to give people some options. And speaking of options, do you hear that music?
We gotta go. Thanks for listening.
Hey, if you get a chance, can you head over to Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts and leave us a review? That helps other people find the show, and so we have a full docket of beauty questions to answer.
Speaking of questions, if you have a question, just record it on your smartphone and email it to thebeautybrains@gmail.com. We love hearing other voices on the show, real voices.
Right.
Or you can just use the form in the show notes at the bottom of this episode.
The Beauty Brains are also on Patreon, which is another place where you can enter your questions. Just head on over to patreon.com/thebeautybrains and subscribe at any level. We appreciate all of our patrons, and they get their questions answered in a higher priority and also a transcript of the show. And on occasion, we do special patron-only events, which we should do a few of those this year.
I definitely think we should. Also, don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts. On Instagram, we're at The Beauty Brains 2018. On X, we're at The Beauty Brains. On Blue Sky, we're at The Beauty Brains. We have a Facebook page and a TikTok. Guess what, Perry? I actually made an Instagram post.
You did? Whoa.
On our page for the last episode. First one of the year, which is a huge improvement because we made 0 last year.
Well, I will have to check that out and like it from my Instagram accounts that I don't use, the Joggler, for example. I never use Instagram for business stuff. It's all just like pictures of my cats and stuff I see.
Stuff people love. Well, thanks again for listening, everyone. And remember, be brainy about your beauty.
Thanks, everyone. Kittens.
Are growth factors the miracle they claim to be? Do they smooth wrinkles and set youthful skin free? Perry says they're big, they can't get through your skin, but for $15, hey, let the hope begin. Oh, beauty questions, answers we seek. Science and humor every week. From hair to skin, we'll make it clear. Be brainy about your beauty year to year. Fragrance-free and lightweight care. For fine-haired folks, it's so rare. Dark spots fading, but at what cost? Affordable serums won't leave you lost.